Not another Anon story. Chapter 1.
Now girls, I'm sure that there's an explanation for everything Sakura does.
Twilight said to the other 6 mares, huddled together in the dark room with her. She and her 5 friends, along with Applebloom and Spike, sat in the unlit kitchen of Sugar Cube Corner, trying to avoid drawing the attention of the strange zebra in the town square, much like everyone else in the area.
And if any pony here was actually brave enough to—
Suddenly, Applebloom chimed in.
Hey! Looks like there's some pony else out there now! What?
They all said in unison, as they rushed over to the window where Applebloom was peeking out. Applejack piped up.
Now who in tarnation would be brave enough to—
The girls and Spike joined her in her drawn breath as they saw the large bipedal figure that was approaching Sakura. It appeared to be wearing clothing over most of its body. Its top half was covered by a dark-colored turtleneck, with a loose fit around the wrists and waist and the neck itself, the sleeves going over the ends of its forelimbs and obscuring them. Its bottom half was obscured by a set of equally dark-colored pants made from denim and a set of somewhat clunky-looking black boots. The only hair they would see was on its shoulder length, and black in coloration and fairly fluffy with slight curls. It had a flat face with small features and a set of glasses, large and round. Over its shoulders, there was some sort of saddlebag of a similar color to the rest of its outfit.
What in the world is that?
Rainbow Dash said, being the first to resume speaking.
Looks like some kind of monkey. I ain't ever seen a monkey like that before.
Applejack responded as she squinted her eyes, trying to get a better look before turning to Fluttershy.
What about you, Shy? You ever seen anything like it? No, but I think Rainbow Dash might be right. It does look like a primate,
she said softly, as she tilted her head slightly in thought.
Whatever it is, are you seeing its outfit?
Rarity cut in suddenly.
I mean, the sweater is nice, but the boots are absolutely atrocious. Oh, what if it's one of Sakura's evil minions?
Pinky said dramatically, waving her hooves over her head as she did so.
I bet it's telling her that it finished some sort of dastardly scheme. It doesn't look like it's telling her anything, Pinky,
Twilight said softly, as she took a notepad from the countertop and took notes of what she was seeing, even including a small rudimentary sketch as a pencil moved across the paper in an arcane blur.
If anything, it looks confused. It might be lost, but let's see what it does.
10 minutes earlier, Anon sighed softly as he made his way into the small rural-looking town. He had been walking for some time now, at least a few hours. He had no idea how he managed to get himself into this predicament. Just one moment he had been on his way home from college, and the next he found himself on a dirt road in the country instead of turning down the alleyway he used as a shortcut to get home. Right now, he was simply operating off of the assumption that he had slipped and hit his head and was experiencing a lucid dream of some sort, while either dying of exposure outside or being brought into the hospital. But the longer he kept walking, the less he was able to cope by using that as a flimsy excuse not to panic. A fair bit of time had passed, and he had been getting fairly nervous until he had been distracted by the sight of a town of some sort on the horizon. So naturally, he had taken the opportunity at face value and increased his pace, hoping to get there a bit quicker. A little bit later, he finally found himself walking through the town, but there didn't seem to be anyone around, strangely. The doors and windows of just about every building seemed closed, and shutters with the blinds drawn where no shutters were actually available. Real warm welcome around here. Wonder what happened, he said to himself softly, as he looked around and continued to walk, coming to a clearing where there seemed to be a large variety of, still empty of course, shop stalls. It seemed to be a market of some type. However, the only living thing in the market seemed to be a horse? A very small one at that, with stripes. So, a very small zebra. That only raised further questions as he slowly approached. It was cloaked in some sort of hooded garment draped over its entire body to boot, only the lower half of its front legs visible as it pawed at the ground. It seemed to notice his presence, turning around quickly, the hood falling off to reveal its face. It certainly didn't look like a normal zebra. The proportions were all off, a bit more humanoid than one might be comfortable with. Personally, he thought it was sort of cute. That is, until it started speaking.
A strange new creature dressed in all black. What are you doing approaching my back?
It said calmly in a feminine voice as he observed it with wide, shocked eyes. She, apparently, was intelligent. I'm sorry, I was just curious is all. I haven't seen something like you before. You look a lot different to the zebras where I'm from, and a lot of smaller, he said, tilting his head slightly as he put a hand to his chin. She seemed to find this amusing, chuckling softly as she looked up to him and smiled, stepping a bit closer.
Perhaps it is not that I is so small, but rather you, my friend, who is very tall.
She said, as she looked him slowly up and down.
But perhaps both perspectives are one and the same. No, what exactly are you? And do you have a name?
He smiled in return and gave a small laugh. He liked her little rhyming scheme. My name's Anon, and I'm a human. It's nice meeting you, ma'am, he says, as he gets down on one knee to be eye level with her, extending a hand in greeting. She seemed to understand what she meant, and reached out with her hoof and shook it. She shuddered softly as she withdrew her hoof, giving a slightly unsure look, before returning to a more warm general demeanor.
The pleasure, I'm sure, is even, I would say. What exactly, may I ask, brings you out this way?
She asked, continuing her line of questioning. Well, that's the thing, really. I'm lost. Lost as a motherfucker, to be honest, he said with a small shrug and a mildly worried expression. I really have no idea where here is, nor how I got here. One minute I was in my city, on my way home, and then BAM! Out in the middle of the sticks talking to a small equine, he said with a small hum as he considered what he was saying, before giving an exasperated chuckle. She seemed to pick up on his anxiety on the matter and gave a small warm smile.
I am sure that there's a good reason that you are where you are. Wherever your home is, I am sure that it cannot be far,
she said, trying to make him feel a bit better about his situation. I appreciate that. So, do nice little zebras such as yourself have names? He asked her, as he stood back up and dusted off his pants with a small hum.
I would say that they do, lucky for you. And mine is Sakura, so that you may know mine, too,
she said, as she looked around with a small sigh of her own.
But it seems my name is all that you can get in this place. All of the sales ponies seem to have evacuated the space.
Yeah. Doesn't seem to be any other zebras around here to operate these carts, he said softly, getting a surprised look from her as he walked over. So where is everyone, do you think? She blinked slowly and looked downtrodden for a moment.
It is ponies, not zebras, who would man these stalls. They fear me as different, and sequestered behind their walls,
she said, pointing to a gaggle of ponies looking through a window of an establishment which resembled a mishmash of baked goods in design. He looked over at them and raised an eyebrow, giving him a small wave, prompting a muffled kerfuffle on the other side of the window as they seemed to all fall over one another as the curtains closed. Ponies, huh? He said, as he started walking towards the building. Hold on just a second, Sakura, he said, as he approached.
What are they doing out there now?
Rainbow Dash said as she slowly picked herself up off the ground alongside the other girls.
I don't know. I can't see him anymore, but Sakura's looking over at the door now,
Applejack said as she stepped away and closed the curtains again. The girls all jumped slightly and gave a collective gasp as they looked towards the front door in the dining area as they heard the knocking ring out loudly in the darkness.
Nobody's home!
Pinkie Pie cried out loudly as she started to busily push a rather large rolling trolley towards the door, intending to block it off. She was stopped by a purple aura surrounding the trolley and dragging it back to its previous position, and Pinkie along with it, as Twilight trotted towards the door, rolling her eyes with a small sigh.
Come on, girls. I'm sure it'll be okay. Let's just try to be reasonable about this.
As she opened the door, her eyes slowly widened, her face paling, as she felt an overwhelming sense of dread, as if something was fundamentally wrong with what she was seeing in front of her. The human had looked relatively normal from a distance, but up close, the very sight of them seemed to make her want to scratch at her face with her hooves. She felt empty, like something vital was being sucked out of her, simply by him being so close to her. Even light itself seemed to eschew contact with the creature before her, rendering them a thing-shaped void in the doorway, save for the bright gleam of their glasses, by contrast, round portals of pure white, save for her own reflection, staring back at her in wide-eyed horror. And then, it extended its hand towards her, fangs bared. Hello there. He managed to get out about half of the 2 words he intended to speak before suddenly the little purple unicorn in front of him screamed and fainted, with his hand still extended to offer a shake. Oh shit, he said softly, as he dropped down slowly to one knee, his hand sliding along her neck to see if that he could find a pulse. He hoped that he didn't give the poor thing a heart attack.
Hey, get your paws off of Twilight!
One of the other ponies in the group, a blue Pegasus mare, said, as they dashed towards him.
Why don't you go pick on some pony with some guts?
She finished weakly, as her running slowed down until she was within a few feet of him. She was not quite outright terrified the way that the purple one had been, but she was certainly not terribly keen to be around him, it seemed. He frowned and backed up gently, raising his hands. Hey now, I'm not trying to cause a problem, alright? I just wanted to know why everything is closed while she's here, he said, pointing over at Sakura, who was watching all of this play out with mild concern showing in her eyes. Rainbow Dash started backing up slowly at the slight hint of irritation in his voice.
What, do you work for her or something? Are you her familiar or something? Her evil witch doctor assistant?
She said, trying to continue to put on a tough face as she looked up at him, failing pretty spectacularly. He sighed and shook his head. No, actually, I just got here. I'm actually lost as all hell. I was just asking because this all sorta seems mean to do for no good reason, so I was hoping that there was some reason I shouldn't be upset with you for being on the stupid shit. The others are looking at the blue one sorta funny as the two of them speak, seeming confused by her reaction.
Hey, are you doing alright, Rainbow Dash? The
orange one in the stylish hat asked as she came closer, starting to slow down her own approach and take on a look of horror as well. A bit closer than when the one she called Rainbow Dash had approached, and not quite to the same degree. She seemed more deeply perturbed and distressed than actually terrified.
Oh dear, Celestia, that's not right,
she said, slowly backing away a bit again.
Rainbow Dash, get away from that big fella. I don't think that he's very good news. Something about him don't feel quite right from here,
she said softly.
You feel it too, huh, Applejack?
Rainbow Dash answered, as she dragged the one that they called Twilight away from him, with some effort, seeming a bit surprised by her own difficulty with moving her. She tried to grasp her with her hooves at first for some reason, but when that failed, she simply pushed Twilight with her head away from him, sliding her across the floor. Just seeing where this fic takes place, my god, it brings back good memories. Anyways, here's hoping that Anon gets along with him pretty well. Now let's get on to our friendly donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Ponyman, and Gauntlet. CourierCruz CI, Strix, Zar630, Narwhals, Raiden, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Dospo, Delta Omega, RuneScythe9852, Hunter Norman, Austin Rowland, Dash of Evergreen, Rhynie Dragonwolf, Secret Moon, Tall Russia, The Toilet Snake, Sword Brother and Mordred, Ronin Wandering, Endrai63, Random Person Man Guy, Easy, Jack Hedge, Skyochia, Leslie Prickett, Jordan Peterson, Crimson Kitten A9, Lightskin, Monster Kitty, Starlight Glimmer, Lightning Blitz, Squiddy Boy, David E. Sanchez, Soul Dragon, Gaggy, Trey, Shadow Drake, Joe Piercy, Alex F., Rainbow Dash, Teal'ca Anderson, TV Killer, John Becker, Leon Reynolds, Raven Speedster, Zach Rakau, Mystery CU, Edgar Garcia, One Kingdom 1, Nissa Rusan, Vazuri, Dyslexic Character Sheets, Just a Random Boy, Hodrick Plancart, A Crazy Person, Ponyman365, Daniel Beck, 6 of 9, and Shyfire. Thank you all so much for watching this video, live life to the fullest, and if you can help it, try not to give any ponies heart attacks. Or any person, for that matter.